Alright, hello everybody. Quick check. Okay, everything looks good. Alright. Let's get started here. So, just doing some stuff in the background there. Nothing to worry about. Alright, let's get started though. Open up the engine here. Alright, I'm just gonna hop right in where this is probably gonna be a little short one. Anyways. Let's get open into the engine. Let's move my icons over to the other monitor. Why do they keep moving over? I don't like that. White windows. Alright. Here we go. Okay, here we go. We are back in the engine. So today we are going to be working on UI. We're gonna start off, actually not quite, well actually we'll start in, sure. Alright, so what I got here, this is the project from like last week. I didn't make any changes. So we'll start off, we'll open up the our prototype gameplay level here, and as you can see right up here, I have it in a mobile device preview mode. So to get that, we'll go into click the three dots right here, and then we'll click mobile preview. This will allow us to hopefully at least see what the game looks like on a mobile device without actually putting it onto a mobile device, because that takes a few more steps. And it's kind of complicated. Okay, actually one change I did make, I did move the camera up. So go over that real quick. Okay, you have to press Alt-Tab to get out, or probably escape. As you can see, my mouse is stuck in the window, so just Alt-Tab out, and then you can close out the window. Alright, so I'm just gonna go over the one change I made here. So on the player, base player right here. There we go. Open up the base player. There we go. So the only change I made, went to the viewport here. And the camera, I just moved it up. It was around here. You just move it up a little bit with like the Z-axis arrow here, and then you can rotate it to roughly face the character. It's not a perfect thing. You can do some code if you want to sort of adjust it. And actually, I think we're gonna do something different. So I'm gonna make a little change here. Actually, we're gonna do it more properly. Oops, no, I'll do that. What we need, search for camera. We need, no, not that. AV camera, spring arm, that's what we need, yes. So the spring arm is a nice little utility in Unreal Engine where we can attach the camera, or really attach anything to the end of it. And then it will attempt to keep the distance or the target arm length at all times. So you can see the little red line there. Just rotate that into roughly a position, and then we'll move the camera, set the camera position to 0, 0, and then set the rotation to 0. Now, as you can see, it's lined up like we had it before. Then we go back to the spring arm and we adjust the target arm length, move it back about there, let's say, and then we can rotate it a little bit upwards, and then if we could compile and then go back into our mobile preview like before, you'll see that it changed. And there we go. It's actually exactly the same way we had it before. And yeah, alright, next up we have obviously these mobile controls, the default ones here, as you can see. So, let's talk about that now. So let's get out of here. There we go. So go into the project settings here, Unreal Engine project settings, and we'll go to the normal input, not the enhanced input. Right down here we have default touch interface, default virtual joysticks. So let's open this up right here. So we can see it's just an engine resource right there because of the directory, engine/mobile resources. What this does is it pretty much draws out the joysticks. It positions them accordingly, and then it also even maps the controls. So the way that Unreal Engine touchscreen controls work in that sense, this is one part of the UI, and then we're going to make the like buttons and stuff next. But so the way that this works is that it will draw out these inputs on the screen. They're just like images, so you can set it to some other image if we want it to. Positions it and sets up like interactions and whatnot, and then it maps it to a normal control. So like it's a 2D flat screen, so clearly the most obvious control mapping would be to the gamepad, and we mapped in the gamepad with the enhanced input. I believe that's back in part 2 we did that. That was something fairly early on that we implemented. And then with that, we could also add other controls as well, so we can click a new one. We don't necessarily need an image. If we set the interaction size to, say, the full screen, one thing actually I'm not quite sure. Oh, okay. So I'm going to make a few changes here, actually. Center point of the control. So the way that this works is, since that's 1, it's greater than 1, it's going to use the positioning of the pixels. So let me open up our friendly note-taking tool over on the other monitor here. It's a little jumping animation thing that I was working on separate of all this. Let's see, pull the cable. Hold on one second. There we go. Alright, that's better. Okay. So let's see here. Live game. We'll go do a new one. So this will be. I show the. My mouse just moved off the pad. Okay. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna show the screen in a second. UI. Let's call it UI. So now, then let me show that second display there. There we go. We get larger. There's that OneNote thing. Again. Alright, hold on one second. Let me center it real quick. Transform, there we go. Center to screen, okay. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, whatever. Alright, so the way that the UI, sorry, let me move my mic a little bit here. Alright, the way that the UI works. So here's our screen. And then let's say these are the default joysticks that you saw before. They already are drawn onto the screen. So let's say it's a 1080p screen, so this would be 1920 pixels and the x-axis, and then downwards we have 1080 pixels. So this joystick here, let's say this is about maybe 1800 by 850 or something. So that's the absolute position. Absolute position. I can't write. There we go. Absolute position is that dimension right there. So that's the exact spot on the screen. The amount of pixels over on the screen that's located. Then this also has a relative position. So let's say the relative position, just for simplicity, is 0.9 by 0.9. This is relative. So the relative, you can think of it as 90% to the left and also down. So this coordinate here, up here, this is always typically 0, 0. And I'm assuming that the top left is the 0 point. That's how it typically is in like web and like displays, like computer graphics in general. The 0 point is on the top left. So that's sort of how it works out. So we can actually go back here. We'll remove this empty input, but if you're curious, actually, I'm just going to quickly mention this. We could also have the entire screen acting as a one giant interaction area. So we don't need the visual, we don't need the thumb. What we need is we set the interaction size to, let's see here, we set to 1 by 1. So the center, then we can make it that 0.5 by 0.5. And then this should cover the entire screen. Then we can map the input. Well, we don't necessarily need to map the input, actually. If we go back to our base player here, for instance, we can, I think we don't need to map the input. I'm not entirely sure on that. Here we go, yeah. So we don't need to map the input. I was sure about that. So we have these touch events up to touch 10. So if I'm gonna take a little guess here that this one is touch event 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, so on and so forth. Let me check the documentation real quick, actually. There we go. Touch events. Alright, so that's the not useful. Touch events. Let's see if this is in. No, that's not useful either. And then we have non-Unreal Engine results, okay. Unreal Engine touch events. How does the touch input event work? Input touch. Finger index location. So that's for... Here we go. This will probably say something. Alright, so I'm guessing that actually we can test it out real simple. So we take touch 1 here. Do we have a touch? I think we don't have a touch 0. Alright, so pressed, we can then say print string hello to test it out. Alright, so let's see here. Let's run it. There we go. And then when I touch the screen with my mouse, let me hide the screen here. There we go. Alright. Okay, it's not doing it. As you can see, I'm moving the inputs around, but it is not activating the touch inputs. So, all right. wonder actually, one second. So let's go back to our default virtual joysticks. Now if we make changes here, I believe the changes are persistent only for our project, not for the entire engine. I hope. It'd be kind of unfortunate if they were. But we can check that if we, so I have some change here, so let's add that. There we go, save, and then aha, I am currently playing the game. There we go. Let's close that out. Make sure you, when you're saving, you close out any testing that you have in the background. There we go. If we click submit content, we might be able to see. Okay, no, it doesn't look like. Okay, so be careful. Let's not modify these defaults. So check this. Move this here, delete that. Okay, and then save that again. This input 2, we'll delete this too, delete. And then we will go back to our project settings. There we go. So right here, click the folder icon right there. That'll bring you directly to this folder in the engine folder. So we will asset actions. We will duplicate it. Let's call it virtual joysticks, and then go over here, we'll grab another content browser to make it easy. Go to our content folder, so all/content, then on blueprints/inputs, we will add our virtual joysticks just into the root folder because we think there's really, you don't have to really move it around anywhere else. And then we set it to our new virtual joysticks right there. And now we can make any changes that we want here. So some of the changes that I do want, I want the joysticks here to be moved over to, let's say, 0.2x. So this one is the right side. Okay, so right side is 0.8 then. 0.8, and then move it down to, oh yeah, 0.8. Sure. So I want this to be relative to the screen size so that it's can match any different screen size no matter what the dimensions are. So same thing here, except we'll make it x be 0.2 and 0.8. Oh, wait, center point of control. The dimensions might be with the zero center at the center of the screen. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Alright, well, we'll see what this looks like. Alright, save. So now, if we go back to the preview mode, close out of that. Alright, there we go. So yeah, they're a little differently positioned, but still good. And yeah, you can set the size of the preview mode as well to adjust that. All right. So yeah, we can mess around with these settings later. Let's set this to say 0.25, quarter of the screen. That seems so good. And then 0.2, 0.2. The interaction size 0.3 by 0.3, a little bit of more interaction. Alright, and that would be only the left side joystick. So let's see what that looks like compared to the right side. Ooh, wait, okay, yeah. So this is actually expected. Surprise, surprise. This is because the viewport here is a rectangle, and we are uniformly scaling it based off the size of the rectangle. So clearly the width is more than the height. So as a result, it appears to be skewed like that. So we'll change this. Well, that's good enough for now. We can adjust it more, fine-tune it later on. We're going to go back and with that done, we're gonna continue on with playing out the UI. So we already have a nice window here. We will plan out some more UI elements in the red. So if we look back at our original design, we had some image previews. Now that's going over the development process. Here we go. Let's see here. What do we got? Oops. These buttons should be zoomed out. Nice. Okay. So that's laser tag. Give me project layout. Here we go. This is a little bit. Now this is describing the world space and our control scheme. Okay. More laser tag. Let me zoom out here with a mouse. Alright, let's see here. Here we go. This was what I was looking for. So we're going to have a little basic system of UI. As you can see, we have the 2 joysticks already implemented. So we'll go back to the UI here. We already have the 2 joysticks. Let's see here. Let's make some room for some buttons here. Here we go. So as we talked about before, having the buttons near the thumbs is good user design choice. Now we will have, let's say, a button up here. So this will act as our pause menu. So this is how you'd leave and exit the games and rejoin them. In terms of what else? The movement here. I don't think there should be any buttons, so we should leave this area sort of empty and leave this area sort of empty as well. So that's for our 2 different joysticks. I'll rearrange this a little bit here. And then, so we have our player here, they have their little cannon. We then have this area up here that's open, and then we have this center area here as well. And we have this bottom area, though, in terms of mobile design, well, it depends actually. So here's a phone. I believe I used it like last week or something. If I'm playing a game here, the bottom area here is actually fairly visible and open. So we do have that bottom area there. So I'll highlight the areas in a different color. We'll go with the orange highlight. Never mind. We'll go with the rainbow. There we go. Empty, empty, and empty. All right. So we won't be doing actual menu design quite yet. We'll just implement this basic layout and then get into the game such that the player will see it. So let's start off by going back into our blueprints, and then we have this UI folder that we made from previously. We will right click here, we'll go to user interface and create a new widget blueprint. Actually, yeah, we'll do this properly. Why not? Alright, so what we're going to do is actually start with the widget style. No, you won't start with the widget style. Okay, so, alright, a little bit about the user interface tools here. So fonts are clearly just the font of the text. This is what you would use to sort of import your own custom fonts, or if you want to make them. The font files are typically with a TTF, as you can see in the description right there. So we're not going to be worrying about the fonts quite yet. We'll do that later on, and when we're improving the styles and the theme of the game. Next up, we have the slate brush. So this defines. This is a very specific asset to define. When a texture doesn't quite fit, like in the little setup preview, what is its behavior going to be? Is it going to repeat itself, or is it going to scale a certain way? Then this is something new, actually. I've never really seen this before. Okay, I think looks like probably something I'll probably have to look up. I don't think it's going to be super important for us. It looks like something that converts a mesh into vector data. That could actually be kind of interesting. You could if you're interested in learning more about maybe how this works, I would suggest looking at the SVG formats or the scalable vector graphics. I'm guessing that that is what this does. It can take, let's say, a 3D points to make up a cube and then convert them into 2D scalable vector graphics. So you could make a 3D object and put it into a 2D space. I'm going to move my camera over a little bit. There we go. All right, and then we have the last two things which we will be using. So widget style, we won't be using that immediately, but eventually. Well, okay, actually we will. Let's make it widget style. So what the widget style is we have a button here. We're going to be making a button. So button widget style. What this does is it allows us to make universal styles for the visuals on our UI. So I'm going to move this here. There we go. And then we'll be using, we'll open it up here. Yeah, sure. So we can customize, we can set up the different sounds and whatnot. So we can have like a click button sound. These are just some default engine sounds. You could use them if you wish. We can also set up the visual. So a button has different states. These are buttons for working on mobile touchscreen interfaces. Whoops, touchscreen interfaces, as well as. So okay, yeah, I just forgot to change that. So all right, UI. Here we go. User interface. There's the fonts I mentioned before. Slate brushes, slate vector art data, widget style, and widget blueprint. I made in the UI folder. I made a style folder, and then made the button widget style. So that's what we're looking at right now. All right, now that we're caught up. Let's go back to the widget style here. There you go. So you can customize the looks and the styles. There's different states for buttons. So normal is just what it looks like by default. Then hovering is when you're using a mouse and you hover over the button, it will change the look. This isn't necessarily like a highlight or a select with controls, with like a controller, although it should be. It would be nice if they could change it to that, but it's something else. Anyways, then we have pressed. So this is when the mouse is actually clicking on the button, or when on touchscreen you are pressing button, or on controller you're pressing the A button to press on the button. All right, and then last off we have disabled. So this is just a state to indicate that you cannot do anything with the button, and if you try doing anything, nothing will happen. Then we have a few other stuff. The foreground. So this is, so there's a background color. These are like the background color. Then there's a foreground color that dictates how the text looks, for instance. So we'll see that sort of in action soon enough. But what I want to do is, let's keep that in here. Yeah, sure. All right, and then we have padding. So this is to sort of adjust the. I'm not sure exactly what the press and normal padding do with the. I guess that's so the padding is the spacing between other items on the UI to help out with sort of keeping things sized well. So with that, we'll make a widget blueprint now. So we'll just start with a user widget. There we go. And then this will be the in-game user widget. Click enter, and then we'll open this up. So we start off with this blank, empty canvas right here. All right, let's get the little preview here. We'll put our drawing there in the corner. All right, there we go. So let's start off with yes, the common UI. That's something new that we've we can explore these days. Common UI, you can look that up more. We're not going to be using it, at least at first, is a new revised set of UI tools that you can use in Unreal Engine to help out with more modern overlaying UIs and stuff like that. So, you know, it's pretty neat, but we're just doing the basics here and we don't need the common UIs for that. So we're going to start off with, let's see here, panel. Yes, canvas panel. So the canvas panel is the sort of backbone of the entire UI, and it's going to scale on depending on our display. So this is our display now. By default it's a 720p, but that shouldn't matter because we're going to be doing things on a very specific way. So let's see here. Let's mark out the regions that we want to have the motion input. So we'll go with next up this border here. There we go. And now we can see a few things with the border. So first off, we can scale the border. We can move it around all you want. So I'm going to move down here and move it there. All right, there we go. There's our first border. Now then we can take it here. We're going to copy it here and paste it. To duplicate it, we're going to move this one down onto this side now. All right, yeah. Now I'm not going to do anything else, so we can show off why just doing this alone is bad. We'll get to that though, don't worry. All right, so next up, we need to get the UI to be visible on the screen. So the way to do that, we're going to be doing it in our character pawn. So the idea is that the pawn dictates what the UI looks like. So if we're going to have a different pawn, maybe the UI would change, maybe it wouldn't. You should do it with a pawn in case the character controller might change and the UI would change with it. So let's see here. What do we got? So basic movement, add movement, movement, event possessed. All right, so we're gonna have this possessed client. We want to implement our UI system here. So let's get some organization here. So we'll delete this touch one because that isn't doing anything. Event hit, so event hit. There we go. And then we'll go here. Client possession. All right. Now make this window a little bit bigger, and then we will add a sequence node for organization. There we go. And then drag down here, we'll go with create UI. We'll create, no, not UI, create widget right there. And then we want our in-game user widget. So in-game user widget, there we go. And the owning player here is a player controller, I believe. Yep. So get controller. Nope, that doesn't work. So we want specifically the main player controller. So we're gonna do a little bit of reorganization again. Actually, I'm gonna modify this. So we don't need this. I'm gonna move this here to there. No, just kidding. Why not? Add pin to node. Okay, now it works. I don't know why it didn't work the first time. So player controller, cast to main player controller. So delete this. Make this be a main player controller. So that's our main controller for the player, obviously. Alright, drag that there. And then drag this to owning player. There we go. Alright. Now, actually, no, we'll change it. We'll make it. No, we won't change it. So go back, then we need to change our event possessed real quick. So let's go search for that event possessed right here. So we need to have this player controller here. So this player controller, then we can cast it to main player controller. And just add that in right like that. Move this over here. There we go. All right. Then for organization, we'll just double click on the line there. So we create this new reroute node. Click compile, make sure everything's good. All right, let's continue on with the UI now. So we created the in-game user widget. Now we need to add the user widget. So to do that, we will add to the viewport. Okay, there's two of them. So one is add to player screen. The other one is add to viewport. I believe, yeah, it should just be add to viewport. We're not going to be doing split screen on mobile. That really doesn't make sense. All right, there we go. So now this will create the widget, and then it will add it to the player controller screen. So let's see what this looks like. So I get click play. And aha! Oh, what's this? Oh no! So we got our one white square there. Oh, and the input's also not really working. Oh, there we go. That was weird. All right, we got one white square, but we don't have the other one. Where did that go? So next lesson in UI, especially in Unreal Engine, but also in general, is anchoring and scaling. So we look here, we'll select this first square. You can see this little dot here, right here. So this is, if you look on the right side now, you'll see the anchor moving around right there. So this is the anchor. Let's click this anchor button. And this is for the bottom right there. Let's see here. Let's have it be here. So what this does right here. So just move this little top part and the bottom part to the corners of the screen. Now, this square is going to be scaled in terms of its height based off the height of the screen, and also positioned relative to this anchor, relative to this side here. So this bottom corner will be positioned right there. This top corner will be positioned relative to that. And then this side here, this side can still vary. So we're gonna do something here instead. We're gonna, let's see here. What I want to do is make that sort of uniform, meaning it scales as like a square, pretty much. Though I don't necessarily think there's a clear way of doing that. So instead, we'll just go with the full screen scale. So now it will scale no matter what the size of the screen is. And you can actually see this in action if we go to the screen size here and we change it. Let's say 4K digital camera. There we go. And as you can see, it changed with the size of the screen. So we'll go back to, let's go with a phone actually. Go with Google Pixel 3. That's a fairly old phone, but okay. There we go. So now we have a sort of phone screen, so we can adjust it accordingly. So let's see here. Let's make it a little bit bigger there. All right, there we go. Here's our first region. And then the second one will do the same thing. There we go, right in the bottom corner there. Here we go, drag it over there. And then scale it up. Now let's make it a little more precise. So we have the offsets here. Offset to the left side, offset to the top side, offset right bottom. So offset bottom should be 0. There we go, so it's all the way on the bottom. And then this offset here, let's do the offset top first. So let's say 600. About, yeah, there we go. And then this one, we'll change it to 1700. All right, there we go. And then we want something pretty much just similar to this. So right side 0 now, bottom side 0 again. There we go. And then the offset top will be the same thing. So 700, nope, 600. So the offset top is how far it is from the top. So the larger it is, the more lower the top line will be. And this will be 1700. 7700. Same thing as before. So there we go. Now we have some dimensions for the two joysticks. We're gonna continue on with some more customization here. So if you remember that inherit color from our button widget style here. So if we go back to the advanced here, we have normal foreground. So the foreground color is right there. Well, the foreground colors match this color content and opacity. So let's set this to black. Then let's add in our button. Let's actually add in our specific button. So go down to user created, and it should be, gosh darn it, hold on. How do I add a widget style to a button? So if I add a button here, there we go, there's a button. Style. Okay, I'm not. Let's try just adding it directly here. Blueprints, UI, style, button widget style. Nope, doesn't work. Can I like apply it to a button or something? I can do that. No. Doesn't do anything. Okay, don't worry about the style then. So, I can then add the button into the border here. There we go. Now it's black. Why is it black? Well, that's because of the content color and opacity. So the button is, by default, fills up the entire screen. It fills up the entire container of what it is. So the border is where the button is located. The button's going to fill up the entire border. And that's the result. So then I can add like text into the border. Now the text is completely black because let's check here. So color and opacity, background color. All right. So content color and opacity, let's set that back up to white or whatever. There we go. Now I can see the text right there. As you can see, actually, the text color matches the content color. So let's see here. If we take the foreground color and we click inherit for these, there we go. We'll inherit the foreground colors based off of the border out here. And then the text color, inherit that too. There we go. Okay, so let's turn off that. There we go. So now the foreground color, whatever the foreground color is, it will match the text. So it's normal mode right now. If we set it to, let's say, black here, there we go. We can now see it. We can change the other ones as well. And if we look close, oh no, that was just a glitch. Sorry. What we can do as well is add a text shadow here. So the shadow color, we can adjust that. Plenty of different color settings and whatnot for our button. Yeah. Now, let's see here. So one thing that I did notice was when we were testing it out, the game here. So let's do it right here. Save as selected. So when I click on the joystick on this side here, it doesn't fire. It's because the actual push down of the button doesn't count as an input, pretty much. So to do that, then we need to go back into here. There we go. We'll move this button actually over to this side here. We'll delete the text right there. Then set up the color here. We'll make it a transparent button. There we go. So this is an invisible button. So we're just set the tint here. Setting this alpha to 0. There we go. So now it's all reliant on the border color. So to change the border color itself, we change the brush color instead. So, we can make it red. What I want to do actually is make it a little bit transparent. So like 0.5. There we go. All right. Now let's see here if I can figure out how to get our touch input. TOU. So set the touch method to down. Set this to fire button. There we go. Okay, now see what other interaction settings are here. Is focusable. Okay, touch method, click method, press method. Set this. All these. There we go. Okay. Compile that. Okay, now go up to here. Let's do the graph mode. And then what we need to do is we need to make the button a variable. So fire button is variable. Check that. There we go. So now we see it in the variables. We can go down here and do the on pressed. We'll do on pressed. Let's see here if we can fire the touch event this way. Alright, 1 second. Let me figure out how to actually get this working. Alright, there we go. Setting up a player controller, yeah. Then we can play, gosh darn it. Set view target with play. Don't really do that. Billboard. No, not that. Touch controls tutorial, 6 minutes. Let's see, oh, wow, that is, oh my god, 1080p, come on YouTube. Alright. Alright, you know what, we'll just, forgo, okay, so, don't use the button inputs. Alright, there we go. Problem solved, okay. We use the button inputs instead for the pause button, which, there we go, makes that 0.5. Alright, so we'll still keep the borders though. And then we'll add in our button right up here, up in the corner there. Alright, make the anchor, can keep it right there, that'll work out well for a pause button. And then license a simple way to make the pause icon, so add a text under the button. And then right here in the text, just do 2 lines. There we go, pause. Just like that. Make it a little bit larger. We can set up the color as well. So go to text, and then our color. There we go, inherit that. Back in the button. Make the color here like black. There we go, and then make the button itself, make the background color for normal, bright white. There we go. So there we go, now we have a pause button. The pause button doesn't do anything yet. Click this because we deleted the fire button. There we go, delete that. And then go back to the virtual joysticks. What I'm going to do actually is take our right thumbstick, and I'm just going to actually duplicate this. So this is going to be our fire button. I'm going to clear this, so clear and clear because we don't need any visuals. And then I'm going to set this to let's check our inputs real quick. I want to make sure it's a good input here. So blueprints, inputs. Alright, our test input mapping. We'll probably actually make this the main input mapping. So let's see here. Player movement, mouse, player looking, player shoot, left mouse button. Alright, so just set it to the left mouse button. That'll work. So click that icon, click the left mouse button. There we go. And it's set for the alt as well. Alright. Now, if I'm correct, so those 2 input areas are overlapping. So when I push down on the screen in that area, it should be able to trigger both of the input events at once. Let's see if this works. It does not work. Great. Alright. That's fine. So, let's see here. Let's look back. So we have the gamepad thumbsticks, right? Right. So here's our player, again, base player. So our movement input, basic input, blah, blah, blah. Player shooting, here we go. So the player shoot is triggered by left click. And that's because we were testing it out on keyboard and mouse. So we need to modify it. Let's see here. Here we go. Now that's the movement input. We want the aiming input here, looking direction. So the looking direction is in a vector 2D. So cast that to a weapon actor, update rotation, and then we'll right here do a sequence again. Drag out this, and then we'll do a branch. So this is like the if statement. If this length, vector 2D length is greater than, and then let's make a new variable here. So right over here, variable, and then we'll do fire threshold. There we go. So this fire threshold is going to be how much we need to move the stick over before it starts firing. So set to a float there. Click compile. We'll set it to 0.5. That should be good. Get fire threshold. We'll add that in. If that is true, then we will set fire. No, we will shoot server. True. Then shoot server. There we go. And then we'll actually simplify this a little bit. So we'll move that there, we'll go there, and then we'll move that right there. Let's do a little bit more here. So I want to make sure that it still fires when you're shooting like normal. So where is the shoot function? Right there, okay, right here. Ah, okay. So let's do a little check here. Shoot button pressed. There we go, another variable right there. Make it a boolean this time. And we'll set shoot button pressed. There we go, set to the value. And then right over back into our aiming code here. Reintroduce that branch. And then move shoot button press right there. Click compile. Now if we click play, alright, let's see here. There we go. So now it shoots once the axis reaches past 0.5. So if we can do like some super precise movements here, or not precise, and start shooting outwards. We can also have like, I don't know, maybe like a charge up or something like that, and then move around. Then you have our pause button right up there. As you can see, you probably have to fix up the colors a little bit. But yep, that's what we got for the UI pretty much. So now we have our basic mobile UI. When we definitely some sort of work to do that needs adjusting. Okay, that's interesting. So that's something that I just noticed. If we release the trigger there, it continues firing. So we need to sort of fix that up. Let's go back to our script here, and then we'll do completed right here. Move this over there. I'm going to expand it here. There we go. I'm going to stop it from shooting if the shoot button is not being pressed. So completed. There we go. Alright, let's see if that fixes it. There we go, that looks better. So now it stops shooting when we release it. And then we can move around still with this. This definitely needs adjustment because it needs to be recentered or something like that. All right, one more thing I actually want to sort of figure out is a parallax effect. So, to do the parallax effect, I'm going to make a new input here. So, back in our blueprints and our inputs here. So, in our test input mapping, let's go with that again. We'll make a new mapping. We'll actually need to make a new mapping first. That's right. Okay. So, do like we done before, input. There we go. And then player underscore parallax. So you'll see what I mean by a parallax movement. We'll make it a 3D vector just for fun, though it doesn't necessarily have to be a 3D vector. All right, let's see here. What else we got? So consume input. We're gonna turn consume input off so that I can work with other input systems. And then triggers. Do we need any triggers? No, it will be continuous action. So we don't need any triggers. Modifiers. Shouldn't need any modifiers either. Maybe we want a scalar. It shouldn't be necessary though. So, all right. In our test input, we add the mapping down here. Player parallax. Now, we want it to be the mouse XY 2D axis, and then we also want it to be the gamepad. So gamepad, let's do our shooting axis, so the right one. So gamepad right, not trigger axis. I need the thumbstick 2D axis. There we go. And then we're gonna add one more as well. We're gonna go with motion tilt. Set player mappable up for all of these. There we go. Player mappable key must have a valid name. So let's set up the name then. Okay, turn off player mappability. We'll do that later. There we go, save that. Alright, now go back to our base player. Gonna add another enhanced input here. So, parallax. There we go. So, we're gonna do ongoing. Gonna grab the action value there. So, we'll take the spring arm. And we're gonna go to set rotation. So we're going to set the world rotation of the spring arm. Ongoing. We're going to take the action value. I'm going to split the struct pin so we can get the specific values itself. We're going to do the same thing here for this. Actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to recombine that. What we're going to do here is go to our interp. There we go. So this will create a nice smooth movement. We used this actually previously with the aiming direction, the rotation here, in this update rotation, as you can see. We're going to do something similar, though it'll look definitely look different. All right. So, I'm going to comment that out. Parallax effect. There we go. So we'll have a new variable here. We'll call this tilt max. Just make it a float because we're going to use it for, actually we'll make it a vector 3D. So this is the maximum amount of the parallax effect that we're going to go with. Compile that. We're going to go with, let's go with like 10 across the board. So 10, 10, and 10. There we go. All right. Here, so I'm gonna actually do one thing real quick. I'm gonna add another motion input. So motion Let's do, yeah, acceleration, that'll work. And then I want to have a modifier for this. So we can swizzle the input axis values because we want the, actually no, hold on. Scalar, actually, we want this. So I want to disable the X and Y values. So 0 and 0. There we go, and keep the Z. Now, let's go back to here. So we need to grab our delta time. Get delta time. Nope, not that. Other one. Get world delta seconds. That's what we want. Our interp speed, so how fast we want. So let's go with something relatively slow, I'd say. That'd probably work out well. So let's check back here what this interp speed is. So 10. So that's pretty fast, I'd say. So let's go with 2. All right, so like before, we want to get our spring world, get rotation, get world rotation, that one right there. So set that to the current, and then we set the target to the, let's see here, get world rotation. So I'm gonna split this up, or break the rotator. There we go. All right, so now I have the roll pitch and yaw. And make this a little bit bigger so we can work out stuff a little bit more. There we go. Alright, so let's split this one too. Alright, so we want the target to be, if we look at our rotation settings here, so spring arm, we'll change it to the world rotation. So let's look here. So roll is X. So the roll value is this axis. Hold on, I'm thinking here. Yeah, okay, so I think if we adjust the roll and the pitch, it should work. So there's the pitch right there, and the roll here. So we would to keep the yaw at a constant. So then the roll here, get the X value and the Y value. Take the tilt max, get tilt max. We'll split this. Actually, no, we'll recombine this. We'll simplify it here. So recombine, multiply. So this will do a component-wise multiplication right there. And then we split this. And then we multiply this each by the roll and the pitch. Drag that in right there. All right, and then we still have this is Z value. So I'm going to do something more. We're going to do something similar about the location. So set world location. There we go. Split this. Actually, we'll recombine it. Can I do an interp with a vector? Let's see here. V-interp 2. So same thing as we did before, though with the vector this time. So 2, we'll reuse the delta world seconds, and then we need to get the current world location. So get world location right there. Hold on. I just remembered something here. So okay, this here, break that. No, not those two. Wait, break this. Break this. There we go. What we need to do is combine two rotators. So we need to make rotator. There we go. All right, put these values in here. There we go, and then Z is the yaw value. We'll leave that alone. And then delete those. Combine rotators. combine with our base rotator, and then this will be our target rotator. So you can delete this here, recombine struct pin, and then boom. So actually no, we want to flip the order, because with rotators the order matters. It's like a matrix multiplication. So we take the A rotator right here, and then we apply the B rotator. Alright, and then we need to do the same sort of thing with here. So we have our nice XYZ axis here. So now we take the Z, we'll go with here, we'll do add this time. Split this and put the Z value right in there and put that to the target. Okay, my cat just jumped up onto the table. Alright, this isn't actually quite what we need. So, the rotation actually wanted to be relative. So let's see here. Let's go to the construction script. We'll get sort of initial value for the relative location. So relative transform camera. There we go. And then set this to a transform. Then we'll add a new one. And then we'll take the camera. Get relative transform. We'll set this to that. There we go. And just add that right over there. Alright. Now, we need to actually change this. Sorry. We're going to delete this world location and world rotation stuff. Set world location 2. We want to set the relative. Set relative rotation of the spring arm. So set relative rotation of the spring arm. Ongoing. There we go. So the new rotation will then be our interp. And then we need to get the relative rotation. So get relative rotation. It's this transform value right here. That'll work out well. That's the current one. And then right here for this one, we want to actually take the initial value. So get rel in our transform camera, and then split this, and get the rotation. There we go. Now actually I want to change this up to a little bit. So we'll break this. We will split this, get the rotation and the scale in for our spring arm, and then from the camera. Oh yeah, the spring arm, not the camera. Whoops, that would have been bad. Spring arm. Okay, there we go. Spring arm, put that there. Camera. Get relative location. Put that right there, and there we go. So now I'm going to take the camera here, set relative location. There we go. I'm going to split this up here. Actually, no, we'll recombine this. We'll just put the entire vector in there. There we go. Current. Get relative location right there. Put that into the current. And then we take the relative transform camera location and put that right back into there. So there we go. Let's see if we can organize this a little bit, because it looks like a little bit of a mess. We'll drag this out to here, drag this out to here. Move the camera over there. Move that. There we go. Alright, move that right there. Move our transform math over here. Here we go. Tilt max. Move that there. Actually move this a little bit back here. There we go. There we go. Alright, that's a little bit better. We have the spring arm right up here as well. Okay. So let's see what this looks like now. Aha, it doesn't work. Okay, let's see. So back in, let's check our input mapping here. So player parallax right here. Triggers, let's see here. I need a continuous trigger. Modifiers, negate, no. Right thumbstick 2D axis. Let's go over to mappings, our player looking mapping here. Turn off consume input. It should probably help out with what we're trying to do here. No? Okay, let's see if it actually is running. So go back to select and viewport here, and then now that we're running the game, we can go into our base player here. Let's go into debugging mode. There we go, base player 0. And let's check to see if our script is running. So that's a shooting script. Here we go, parallax effect ongoing is and not running. Alright, let's see here. So maybe make it split screen here so we can see. As you can see, it's not doing its thing. Aha. So parallax right here. Alright, let's go. Let's try adding a trigger here. So pressed. No. Okay, let's just turn this into a function, I guess. Alright. Here, create event. No, not that. I want a custom event. Add a custom event. And then parallax update, something like that. Alright, there we go. Put that there. And then we will take our input vector here. There we go, the action value. Put it right there. And then we'll move this out back here and call the parallax update function instead. There we go. And compile, and then since it's pretty much bound to the right aiming, so looking here, I'm gonna go expand this out a little bit. There we go. So actually no, the ongoing action. Parallax update. And go split this and split this, or break it apart. Break, there we go. And then put the X and the Y values in. Pile. Now it should. Alright, well it's not calling the ongoing. Alright. It is calling, however, the triggered, which is interesting. So we could oh, let's see here. Ongoing. Ongoing indicates that the input's trigger conditions are partially met and the input trigger is processing but not yet succeeding. Oh, okay. So we want triggered then, not ongoing. Okay. Let's break that link. There we go. Parallax update. So rather than ongoing, break that link. There we go. We'll go triggered. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that works. Well, it's calling it, but it's not doing anything. So let's see here. Let's see what's going on. Let's try printing something. Try printing the rotator here. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's trying to rotate. Alright. Well, that was an interesting little thing. I'll work that out for next week and then see what it looks like. But what I want to pretty much do is have a way to like sort of tilt the camera. That was what I was going for. But yeah, it looks like it's not quite working out right now. That's all right. Let's do wrap this up, I guess. We got the basic UI sort of worked out. We got it firing when we sort of push down a button, and then we also got a simple pause button. So probably later on, start implementing a menu, and then that pause button will get something working. So we'll do, let's see here, touch input, tested and working, start of basic UI. There's also some issues regarding the like little rectangles that we drew out. For some reason they're not showing up, so we'll have to figure that one out. There we go, click submit, there we go. Alright, and that will be it for today. Transition, thank you all for coming by and watching, if you're watching the replay or if you watched live. And yeah, see you again next week on Wednesday as well. Where next week we will probably be adding some more gameplay features, maybe getting the balls that we're shooting around to do stuff, or maybe hopefully start exploring some VFX. That'd be cool. Anyways, yeah, see you guys next week.